When the bikes go by, it is so fast and so close, and you're just like, that's insane. But when you're on the bike, it's like slow motion. Nothing's like aggressive, nothing's fast, you're not freaking out. I broke both wrists. I've had a lot of arm surgeries. I've had one leg break, both ankles, collarbones. I've broken all my ribs on this side, 5 concussions, broke my back. My discs are completely degenerated. So yeah, I mean, a lot. Doctors would write me anything I wanted. I had access to everything. I'm on opioids and I'm drinking, and I'm doing it to mask the pain, to celebrate, to help me sleep. That obviously is a very dangerous position to be in. And I kept progressing even further. From 30 to like 52, I was on them every day. I probably had 500-600 pills in my safe. I was stockpiling them. Like, that's how crazy it is. I knew I was taking them because I didn't want to go through withdrawals, and because I did still get like a short window of like a dopamine hit. I thought, you know what? I got to stop these opioids. I have legitimate chronic pain, and I knew this was going to be a big challenge.
So now you have the raw EEG here, measuring the brain activity. So she's going to be looking at images of opioids on the computer screen, and this is going to trigger craving in the brain. Addiction is a really hard to treat problem, and so we need innovative solutions that can not only address the addictive behavior itself, but also the physical and emotional pain that drives addiction. And so I've spent my entire career focused on developing one such therapy called mindfulness-oriented recovery enhancement, or MORE. During the process of addiction, the brain becomes more sensitive to drugs and less sensitive to natural, healthy pleasure, joy, and meaning in life. MORE is really a mental training program built on the basis of understanding how addiction changes the brain and how we need to retrain the brain in order for it to rewire itself, and so the person can actually heal and recover from addiction.
I bumped into a podcast where I saw Dr. Garland. It was like, reduce your chronic pain. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm really chasing. And so it intrigued me. We did a 20-minute guided meditation, and I got deep, like transcendent into it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's insane. I took it really slow. So 9 months later, I was completely opioid free. My chronic pain is probably down 20%. Like, which may not sound like a lot, but it's not a miracle. You have to keep in mind, I was on crazy amounts of opioids, and now I'm on 0.
Okay, so I'm going to teach you some mindfulness, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
And just focusing your attention on the sensation of the breath moving into the nostrils as you breathe in. MORE is typically delivered as a group therapy, although it can be delivered as an individual therapy. And MORE is 8 sessions long, but then they're asked to practice these skills at home on their own. The more that you do this practice, the stronger the muscle of the mind will become. That the person has to be ready to engage in a psychotherapy like mindfulness-oriented recovery enhancement. So they may need to detox to a certain extent to get stable enough so that then their mind is open and ready to learn therapeutic techniques like the MORE therapy. We found that mindfulness-oriented recovery enhancement reduced opioid craving by 50%. In other studies, MORE reduces a drug relapse by 42%. We've also found it reduces dropout from addictions treatment by 59%.
I don't know it's the same for everyone. It 100% helped me. It was like the biggest tool in my tool chest.
It gives me hope that we can make a difference for the problem of addiction. We can help people to heal and transform their lives, and to really reclaim a sense of meaning back into their life.
I'm Nolan Burchett. I'm the COO of Touchstone Recovery Center.
People typically call our admissions line when they're in crisis. The typical length of stay for a person, if they do all levels of care with us, they'll be with us 4 to 5 months. When a person comes to a place like Touchstone, they've created quite a bit of wreckage. Some people are trying to get their kids back, or some people are going through a divorce. Early recovery is pretty painful. It's not easy. Until we want it for ourselves, there's not a very high chance of success of staying sober long term.
My name is Scott Sternson. I'm a professor of neurosciences, also an investigator with the Howard Hughes Medical Institute here at UCSD. My lab studies the neurobiology of motivation, especially focused on appetite and addiction. Addiction involves a self-reinforcing or positive feedback cycle of drug seeking and drug taking. Taking the drugs reinforces the desire to seek more of them. The challenge with blocking the dopamine response is that dopamine is involved not just in substance abuse, but also nearly every other aspect of our behavior. And so if we block dopamine, we would do anything, we would feel anything, we would just essentially be like a depressed person. So our idea was that if we could develop artificial receptors that would bind specifically to these addictive drugs, that would essentially reverse the natural effects that these drugs have on the brain, blunting the ability of the drug to reinforce the drug-seeking behavior, and therefore they would not affect natural rewards. This is the cross-section of a brain of a rat. This is a part of that brain where we installed a cocaine receptor into this part of the brain. In these addiction animal models, the rats would self-administer cocaine directly into their bloodstream. Rats that had these receptors installed in a particular part of the brain, the rats would greatly reduce their willingness to self-administer cocaine versus rats that didn't have the receptor. The same rats were seeking food or consuming palatable food were completely unaffected. It's really most appropriate for individuals that have a very long relapse history, because this sort of last resort therapy to change the way the brain responds to addictive drugs. The whole process for getting drugs approved typically takes on the order of 10 years. But it's a long process mostly because of the importance of demonstrating both safety and efficacy.
Addressing the drug use and the high that we feel when we use, that's addressing a symptom. Recovery is like a process. Addiction is learned behaviors. It's bad habits that we repeat over and over and over, and it just becomes the way we live. And breaking that cycle it's a process. Learning how to cope and how to live life on life's terms is difficult, and it takes time. The future of substance abuse treatment, it's a holistic approach. It's like, the mind, the body, the spirit, the family, involving medications and making sure that we're knowledgeable about every aspect of addiction. That's the future, is making sure that we're addressing every facet.